delighted to welcome on my next guest. I'm returning guest to the show. We've spoken to Stephen before his last fight against Johnny Hendricks, and that is Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's a huge fight coming up in a couple of weeks' time. UFC Ottawa on June 18th against Rory MacDonald. Stephen, first of all, how are you, my friend? Just finished training. What's been going on with you? Obviously getting ready for the fight. How are things?
Oh yeah, man, things are going great, going smooth. I mean, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I just got doing some wrestling tonight, so everything's going great, man. I'm healthy, can't complain, buddy. Ready for June 18th, I tell you that.
Good stuff, Stephen. Stephen, we spoke to you before the Johnny Hendricks fight, and you thought with an impressive performance, and it was one of the most impressive performance I've seen in recent memory in a main event from a fighter against a guy, especially like Johnny Hendricks, a tough, hardy dude like Johnny. Obviously, you're a little disappointed you get the title shot straight off the bat. How are you feeling about it now, fighting a friend in Rory MacDonald?
You know what? It is what it is, and I mean, yeah, I was looking to get that title shot after facing Johnny Hendricks, but like I was saying before, sometimes you gotta prove to the fans in the UFC that you deserve it. So I'm the number 2. He's the number 1. He's the one guy that's kind of he's above me. So, I know he's a buddy of mine, but sometimes you're at the top of the game. You got to face a friend, and we're gonna go out there with much respect and punch each other in the face, man. So it's gonna be good. So, yeah, man, I was a little disappointed at first, but now that I'm 2 weeks away, I'm ready to throw down with Rory.
Were you a little bit surprised the UFC went down that route, especially after the performance against Johnny? Johnny's a guy who's fought Robbie, and to be honest with you, a couple of those occasions I thought he won the fight against Robbie. Were you not surprised in the dominant fashion in which he disposed of Johnny, that they've gone down this route, especially with Rory as well?
Yeah, man. I was definitely surprised that I went there and finished him out in the first round. I mean, he's known to just bang it out. I mean, knock dudes out cold. He's got that kind of power, man, that one-hitter quitter power. Even that week of fight, I mean, he looked in great shape. He was ripped up. He looked like he was in the best shape of his life. And for me to go out there and just, finish him in the first round was huge for me, and especially for my confidence.
Yeah, of course.
Like I said, like you said, he's been 10 rounds with Robbie Lawler, the champ now. Those are controversial. Been 5 rounds with George St. Pierre. That was controversial. So I feel like I beat the champion, Going out here with Rory, I'm just going to, he's the best well-rounded fighter that I've faced so far. And, you don't really know what to expect. I mean, is he going to try and stand like he did with Lawler? I mean, Lawler's a banger. He's a striker. And, he went out there and stood with him. Lawler stuffed a few of his shots. And, I expect him to come out here a little bit more aggressive and try and get me to the mat. And I'm doing everything I can to prepare for that, my friend.
I know you haven't been down to TriStar in a while. To train's been a few years, but a couple of guys that you train, Matt Miller has worked with the guys in TriStar. Does he work with Rory? What's going on with that? Is he going to be on your side? Is he going to be with the guys in TriStar? What's going on there? Has it affected your camp at all gone into this fight?
No, you know what? I actually bring in Matt Miller and Ryan Hall for my camps, and they both, Matt Miller actually trains up there. He trains some of the fighters. He's really good friends with Brees.
Yeah, Tony Brees, yeah.
Ryan Hall goes up there as well and with those guys. As soon as I found out I was going to fight Rory, I called them and I was like, listen, guys, I understand you guys train up there. I understand if you can't make it out. Much respect. I just want to let you guys know it's okay. It's cool. So they're kind of playing it neutral right now.
Okay.
I know he's back home training, and Matt Miller, he doesn't really work with Rory. He works with the other fighters. So it's kind of a neutral situation between us all. So, I have a lot of respect for those guys up there. I would never try and bring those guys down to help me out. That just wouldn't sound, that's just not cool,
Yeah.
So,
fair enough.
Yeah, I got in touch with those guys right off the bat.
We look at the Johnny Hendricks, so I want to touch on it again because of the nature of the performance, and it was so impressive. Do you think there's too many guys in the welterweight division and maybe in mixed martial arts that are a little bit too predictable at times? And your patience as well was, I think, another key thing in that fight. Johnny had you a little bit of trouble at the start. You rode it out, and then you got the finish, in the first round as well. Do you think maybe there's a little bit too predictability in the welterweight division?
For Johnny, I mean, I feel that he needs to go back and make some changes. Just because if you've seen him fight once, you've seen him fight, times. He doesn't change a whole lot. It's very basic, which I think has, helped me prepare for him because I knew exactly what he was going to throw. I drilled more than I sparred for him. And it just worked out perfectly. It was like technical. We knew it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. It was just muscle memory. Now with Rory, it's going to be a little bit different because you don't know which aspect, which art he's going to catch you with. Is he going to come striking? Is he going to try and wrestle you, get you to the cage, try and tie your arms up, maybe do a little bit of hand fighting, throwing some elbows and knees? Is he going to out in the middle of the mat? So there's a lot more to worry about with Rory than there was with Johnny. And another thing too is Rory's a lot more craftier, I believe, than Hendricks. He's just, he goes out there and he tries stuff. He goes out there and he does a little bit of things and he adapts very well. Johnny Hendricks is just a grinder. He doesn't care what you come. He just stands there and bangs it out with you. You know what I mean? He's not a crafty guy. But with Rory, that's I have to watch out for that, man. I really got to be on my toes.
You talk about the craft. You think guys, when they're fighting you, second guess themselves at times because your precision is so good, because you try innovative things at times?
It does, and it makes guys a little bit more hesitant to close the gap on me, to attack because they don't know what I'm coming with. Sorry, that's my pops right here, man. He's saying bye. He said,
"Hello, sir.
Up,
How are
How
you?
you doing?
How are you getting on?"
All right, love you, pops. So it is.
Ray Thompson, the famous Ray Thompson.
Different. Yeah, man. That's Mr. T. That's my pops, man. He's getting ready to head home, so he got to say I love you and bye. But yeah, man. You have to be kind of crafty and to go out there and actually to get in somebody's head, you have to throw those things. I think that's what makes me so dangerous and makes people very wary, maybe a little bit nervous. I'm not really sure what they think, but when I faced Johnny, he did, and Jake Ellenberger, they felt a little nervous because they didn't know really what to expect, what I was going to throw. And that does help out a lot.
We touched on that in prior interviews, Stephen, about your innovativeness in the octagon and, the things you obviously try and train, and it's a little bit more different, the spinning and hook kicks and things like that, obviously, which we saw against Jake Ellenberger. I was sitting there cage for that, which was absolutely fantastic. But do you feel as though, when you're practicing these techniques and training, is it something that you do on the spur of the moment in the octagon? Is it something that your dad, shouts to you in the corner? Or, how do you implement these tricks and things into fight game?
Kind of both. I throw these techniques in training, and I think that's what makes the guys I train with a little bit more special than what it's training with other people, other gyms, just because they do throw those crazy techniques. If you've seen it here, you've pretty much seen everything you're going to see out there, striking wise. Spin kicks, the angle changing. It's different. Not a whole lot of guys do that in other gyms, which you're seeing Rory bringing in a lot of these karate fighters, which is smart. Raymond Daniels, Michael Page Venom, bringing these guys in just to get a feel of the style. Even though we are a little bit different, he does get to see that style a little bit and get a little bit familiar before he steps out there with a guy like that, which is me. So, it is a spare of the moment thing sometimes. It's a feel thing. And sometimes my dad sees something that I don't see when I'm out there in the octagon. Like when I fought Ellenberger, I didn't even think about throwing a spin hook kick. My dad saw it. He said, "Hey, man, I heard him say spin. I knew exactly what to do." Oh, okay. Boom, spin. Hit him with it not just once, but twice. Ended up finishing it with him. But so it kind of goes both ways. It's a feel thing. If I ever go back to the corner, my dad doesn't do a whole lot of coaching just because it is a feel thing. I may go out there and think I'm going to do something. I want to go out there and try this. But at the moment, it just doesn't feel right. So I switch it up. I may not even go out there and do it. So it is a feel thing when you're out there. And a lot of these top athletes, these top fighters have that feel, that almost like a sixth sense. It's not okay to throw this right now. I got to throw it later. Oh, this is the right time to do it. Let's do it now. Yeah. And you're not even thinking about it. It's just there. You just know it's going to happen. You know it's going to land. And it feels right in that moment. And you just do it.
A lot of the champions, and we've obviously had a new champion again last weekend, and Michael Bisping. We've Conor McGregor in the featherweight division. We've Stipe Miocic, another new champion. They're fighters along the sort of molds of the way you fight. They're very good with movement and distance management. Do you think we're in that era now of mixed martial arts where these guys are going to be the champions and these are the guys, the ones that are going to stand out, and there's a lot of other people that need to do a little bit of catching up? I
believe so. I mean, look at Stipe. The
Stick and
distance
move.
management he executed out there was perfect. You had somebody who was aggressive, and all he had to do was take a half a step back, keep that distance between him and his opponent, and drill that right hand. But it was at a distance where he knew he was most powerful, and it was a feel thing as well. He was aggressive, step back, boom, through the right hand, and he ran right into it. So that is distance management that he was doing out there. Same thing with Conor McGrath when he fought Joe Aldo. Perfect, man. Take a half a step back through that left hand, dropped him. It is, and there's a lot of guys who are starting to understand it. Not just strikers, but jiu-jitsu guys as well. Ryan Hall is phenomenal when it comes to distance management, not just in the jiu-jitsu game, but he's learning it very fast. He's got such a sense of feel, it's unbelievable. So he's able to implement his distance management on the ground, closing the gap, creating distance, using that in his striking as well. So I love having him come here. I wasn't able to bring him in for this camp, but for my previous camps, we just sit and just talk about it. You know, we'll get into detail about things, and it's just a thinking session, man, and it's great. Sometimes that helps. We didn't even break a sweat. We just sit there and talk about it, and it's awesome, man. So yeah, it's in that era.
Being in that era, you see, you know, you're a guy, you train the kids up there in Simsville in your gym. Is that something you try and lay onto the kids, you know, not to stand one way, to change their stances up, to fight all over the place, you know, be a bit more flowy, so to speak?
Yeah, that doesn't come until a few years of experience. You have to have a set blueprint when it comes to teaching, especially kids. You know, you have to go to the basics first, the basic stances, the basic punches, the basic blocking, the basic movement. And once they get familiar with that, once they get used to that after a few years, that's when they start creating different angles, setting up different techniques, and doing the spin kicks. That's where they get to become their own fighter. You get a lot of guys that come into this gym, our school, and try and fight like me. And what I preach to them, what we preach to them is, hey man, you are your own fighter. You know, you got guys come in who are 5'5". You're the style, my style's not going to work with you. Yeah. But you may like some things that I do that you can use for your style, your own style. So we try and help people create and just find their own style, their own movement, their own skills and techniques. You'll come into our school and you'll see, you know, everybody's got their own style. They don't fight like I do. You go into a lot of gyms out there nowadays, they all fight the same. Yeah. They're not allowed to switch sides. They're not allowed to throw these different kicks because it's harder, I think, on the coaches. You know, when you're sitting there working with mitts, and then you're the guy you're working mitts with is switching sides. Like, oh God, now I got to figure this out now. You know what I mean? So it's just it's different, but you have to start with the basics.
Saying that from your point of view, when you look at like obviously Johnny Hendricks, and you're going into that fight, as you said there, you know, it's not rocket science to know what Johnny's going to do. Is Robbie along those lines as well, looking down the line, because we know what Robbie's going to bring? He's a tough, gritty, grindy dude who's big, hard hands and heavy kicks. Do you feel as though you're at an advantage?
I do. Keeping the fight standing, I know that I have an advantage when it comes to him. The thing where what he has a ton of is heart and spirit. Yeah. This guy, I mean, if you watch the last fight when he fought Carlos Condit, even with Rory MacDonald, I mean, there was a few times where he was rocked, you know, but the last fourth and fifth round, he just gets this second win, and it's just this grind, this face on him that it's like, you know what, I don't care what you throw, I'm going to hit him in the face and punch you in the face as many times as I can, and I'm not going to stop. And he breaks people's will doing that. He does have good time. He's got power. He's got kicking. He's got strong kicks, very, very strong Muay Thai base, which is dangerous, man. I mean, those guys are tough, you know, and that's what he has a ton of, man. He's got a ton of heart, ton of a spirit, and just not letting him break you with that, making him swing and miss, and trying to get him frustrated out there is the, I believe, to beat him.
Let's look, fight week coming up in a couple of weeks. New weight restrictions in with the UFC. How's that going to affect you? Is it going to affect you? We've talked about the IV in the past. You were a guy that used to use the IV before the ban came in, and obviously you stopped using the IV, so it wasn't a problem for you. How is that going to affect your process going into fight week?
I don't think it's going to affect me at all. I'm walking around about 185 now. which I did that my last camp with John Hendricks, just because I wasn't really sure how my body would cope without the IVs. But thanks to our ladies with our management company, Paradigm Management, these ladies are amazing. They're called Perfecting Athletes. And they come in the whole week, prepare your meals, tell you exactly what to take, what to drink. And they're actually with me in my ear on the phone all through fight week. And I'm walking around at 185 and I feel just as strong as I was when I was 200. But I feel just so much faster. And so coming in 8% of what you have to be of weigh-in day, I'm already doing that. I'm walking around at that weight. So, man, I'm super confident and just really prepared for this fight, especially when it comes to my weight cut.
Definitely. It's a fight, I think a lot of people are really looking forward to, especially after your last performance, and Rory as well, a guy who always brings it. What's been going on with Chris? Did the wedding go down? And I heard all this stuff. Are you officially brother-in-laws now? Or what's
we
going
are
on?
officially family, man. My brother ended up marrying his sister. Too bad. I was actually up there 2 weeks before a week before the wedding. Was supposed to go up there and do one of my last weeks up there with Chris, because he was supposed to fight Rockhold. I got up there. He ended up, man, he was depressed, man. He was just so down on himself that he wasn't able to fight. He ended up herniating 4 discs in his back, which is painful. He had some nerve damage going on. He couldn't barely use his left side. I mean, you could tell it was very weak. But I'm glad that he didn't take the fight. So now we can go back. I think he's supposed to have surgery here coming up. And yeah, man, that weekend was great. We had pretty much the entire Long Island in Simpsonville, South Carolina. And we just partied down, man. It was great. Those guys, they definitely know how to throw a party. So we had a good time.
Good time. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. I do appreciate the time and looking forward to the fight. And the guys can obviously catch you on Twitter and social networks at Wonderboy MMA. Stephen, always a pleasure. Looking forward to the fight. Do appreciate the time, my friend.
Anytime, brother. And hopefully we can do it again.
Definitely.